Hey guys, straight white male here.
Looking at the camera here, like, I might have to start accepting my identity as a ginger soon, oh my god.
Worst rappers in the game is back once again, and today we will be looking at the one and only white boy, Tom MacDonald. But before we do so, I would like to thank the lovely people over at the WRITG for sponsoring this video, saving me in the case that it gets copyright claimed. The whole point of WRITG is essentially to make your life easier by making products that let you carry absolutely everything you need in the most streamlined ways, such as with their WRITG wallet, which is what I have right here. It's got everything I need in here. I got cash in the back and all my cards in the front. All you gotta do to access them, you push up on that semicircle and boom, there you go. It's that easy, it's that streamlined, it's that nicely designed. 30,000 5-star reviews. Lifetime warranty if you do love it. Free returns if you don't love it. All these styles and colors and various other products, such as their WRITG phone case, one of which I also own. And you could own as well if you click the link down in the description and use the promo code 2007 for 10% off and free worldwide shipping. Much love to WRITG for sponsoring this video. So reluctantly, back to Tom MacDonald. To get an idea of his music, I listened to his 2015 album, Dream People and the Whiskey Wars. That is such a country sounding title. What is that? It's a rap album, Tom. It's a rap album. His 2018 album Deathreats and his most recent singles. So, after hearing these, is Tom MacDonald one of the worst rappers in the game? Well, this is CDTV and let's answer that question right now.
I spent everything I had and I never had a lot. Oh my god, what a mess. Your words help me deal with the stress.
The irony with this segment is that Tom often criticizes mainstream mumble rap for being boring and repetitive. Yet, I honestly find that he has one of those very generic and undefined voices. Hell, on almost every track on his 2015 album, I was able to compare him to someone else. Whether that's 2014 G-Eazy.
I asked God for a sign because the road we on is downtown in LA and all I see is glowing neon.
Lil Dicky when he does that emphatic delivery.
I'm a fan of landing, but I'd rather die than let it be. Started in the garden.
Or his painful imitations of 808s and Heartbreak Kanye.
When she come around here, feels like I'm on stage shutting shit down, but when she not here.
He actually used a surprising amount of autotune on his earlier music, and 90% of the time, it's used terribly. Although, he's definitely got better at using autotune nowadays, and I would say he uses it more sparingly now, so that's a small plus right there. But there's one thing he hasn't improved. These verses that I just played are the least of his problems, because one area in which Tom excels in being so uniquely goddamn awful is with his hook game. I cannot think of many worse hooks than the ones that you have to endure on
Straight White Male
or American Dreams or Help Is On The Way.
White male. They're digging our graves, the home of the brave has gone up in flames. Give a about the system. Forget about me, I can save you, now you'll be okay. I know it's hard to be alone, but someone else will take my place.
It straight up makes a lot of his songs unlistenable. I am not exaggerating. I am not. When I say that, I feel like his hook game is probably bottom 5 in this series so far. He always has these almost off-key choruses that are either very over or underproduced. It never sounds right. Honestly, one of the only hooks I love is the one on Everybody Hates Me. It is legitimately catchy and it fits the tone of the song perfectly for me. It's massively helped by the backing vocals, but it did get stuck in my head. So that's good. However, for the most part, I do actually feel like his voice doesn't have that much personality to it. Just listen to his Mac Lethal diss track that he dropped like yesterday or a couple days ago. None of the bars connect because Tom's delivery is as plain as his skin. Remember, being white is his main personality trait. He's white and he's proud. But that aside, does he have any other strong points to his vocals? Aside from like the one strong point that I've mentioned so far. Well, my favorite tracks from him in this aspect would have to be Hangman and This House.
And I've been fairly military, but my army is one. They've been passive aggressive with how they deal with my message. They lack the passion and reckless nature.
On these tracks, there's a constant intensity to his rapping, which is much more engaging than the typical vanilla rapping that dominates most of his music. I guess overall, I'll give him like a 3.5 out of 10. Considering what Tom views his whole image to be, it's kind of funny that I find his rapping voice during his verses to be mostly inoffensive, just very plain. But those horrendous hooks that plague a lot of his material drag down his score from being something closer to a 5.
They've been preying on people with mental illness and pretending to relate to get paid in creative business. They claim to be anxious, say they're depressed.
Okay, this is without a doubt the strongest aspect of Tom's music. He's not got the most insane flows I've ever heard, and he doesn't stray too far away from the white rapper that loves to rap at a faster pace cliche, but he is relatively good in this area. For example, the second verse of This House, where the rapid flow matches perfectly with Tom's intense delivery against the powerful 808s.
Try to bring me back from that wooden box y'all tried to fill my grave with. Then I'll sit on the roof with the rifles I hid in the fridge and they'll shoot at the men on the ridge.
It's actually a relatively good verse in terms of songwriting too. So it's not like he's just saying nothing to flow fast, which I can appreciate. I mean, I don't fully agree with the message or the lyrics of the song. I think it's a little bit dumb, a little bit defensive, a little bit pandering, but there's a nice extended metaphor within the verse. And one of the only kind of redeemable things about Dream People and the Whiskey Wars is that Tom had a decent grasp on how to flow back then as well. I do have the same issue that I noted in the voice segment, where a lot of his flows sound like early G-Eazy or Lil Dicky, but they are fairly enjoyable cadences at least. Moving back to the present day, I wouldn't say he sounds like them anymore. His current music is definitely a lot less copy-paste with the flows. But at the same time, there's nothing too mind-blowing past some tightly crafted mid-tempo flows. And I think a perfect representation of this is the 4 spoken word tracks that Tom put onto his 2018 album. No beat, just Tom rapping and working with his flow. If he had mastered the art of a great flow, then these tracks would be entirely compelling without you even noticing that there isn't a beat there. Ski Mask and JID are great examples of artists who can do this because their flows ooze personality and rhythm, and they use the fact that there's no beat to their full creative advantage. But even when Tom isn't restricted to the confines of an instrumental, the flows still aren't all that enthralling. You have room to experiment with unorthodox cadences when there isn't a beat, but there's none of that from Tom on any of his spoken word songs. They're just fine, but nothing that warrants a super high rating, and this translates to most of Tom's songs that do have a beat as well. I'm gonna settle on a 6 out of 10 for this segment. Nothing that's too wild, but nothing horrible either.
My generation's afraid of opinions. Y'all so intolerant. They're ashamed of themselves because they're privileged and whiter, they're black and the opposite.
Oh boy, now the moment we've all been waiting for. So you've heard of the subreddit, I'm 14 and this is deep, right? Tom MacDonald should be the musical icon of that subreddit. I'm not even saying that I disagree with every single point that Tom MacDonald has made in his music, because he has at least a few points that I can agree with, such as how the media gives killers way more attention and fame than the victims.
We're making murderers famous. They kill a bunch of kids and get on all the front pages. I don't know none of the victims.
Now, that's a point that the most beginner level Twitter activist would agree with, so it's not really that deep, but it's an agreeable observation. That's as good as it gets. Tom makes some agreeable observations. Also, have you noticed he always paints himself as a revolutionary, but 99% of his music is just observations and zero solutions, which a true revolutionary and someone who's speaking the truth would do, Tom. What's going on? But most of the time, he either makes awful points, such as on Dear Rappers, where he basically paints mainstream rap as if it's this horrible thing that is gonna destroy your life if you listen to it. Or he just blows non-issues wildly out of proportion. For example, we already know about Whiteboy.
I refuse to feel ashamed because of my pretty blue eyes.
The song that is going to define this man as a meme for the foreseeable future, potentially for his whole career. I feel like that resulted because he just got called a culture vulture one too many times in his YouTube comments and just fucking snapped. The only solution I can come up with in my head is that Tom is trolling heavy here, because why else would he make a near 5-minute song stating that he's not a racist and that people should stop judging white people for their pretty blue eyes? Again, my problem isn't the overarching theme or the main point he's trying to make here. I agree that no race should instantly be assumed to be something, whether they're white, black, biracial, or otherwise. It's the way Tom blows it up as if the specific points he's making are big issues, and as if every single non-white person views white people as racist. We don't need a song where you subconsciously display you're uncomfortable because you're seemingly very insecure about being a white person in the rap game that has braids. On to my next point. As with most rappers who portray themselves as saviors and the purveyors of truth, Tom can be so hypocritical and inconsistent that it hurts. He doesn't even stick to his own guns and just comes across as a big old hypocrite a lot of the time, which severely weakens the value of what he says. How can we be sympathetic to your songs about addiction when you relentlessly poke fun at Mac Lethal's past substance abuse? How can we be sympathetic to your songs about mental health when you essentially made an entire song telling the whole mainstream wave of emo rap that they're faking their depression just because they don't experience depression or deal with it the same way you do? That is the most narrow-minded view you could possibly have on the subject. It's stuff like this that erodes your credibility when you'll change your personal beliefs and views on a whim if it'll make your song more edgy and controversial. There's also this on Everybody Hates Me when he sings,
They've been hating, I think it's stupid funny.
If the hate is stupid funny, then why did you block me for one tweet, Tom? I'm only bringing that up because it's just kind of ironic that someone who, in his music, constantly criticizes people for being oversensitive just hands out blocks like he works in a Lego store. Oh, and as for his 2015 music lyrically, there's nothing to see here. It's boring. Some of it comes off as mainstream raps about drinking and women, which Tom seemingly hates now. And he talks about girls and broken relationships an awful lot, but never really gives us any real insight or personality into those relationships which make them unique to him. At least I can laugh at his attempts to be controversial, but there's none of that in his old music because he only started doing the whole controversy thing really recently. So yeah, that's that. Overall, in the current era of his music, his lyrics come across as very try-hard, pretentious, and self-congratulatory, and very weak satire, if you can even call it that. It's almost the equivalent of Leafy is here calling his videos satire, where Tom constantly contradicts himself and destroys his own credibility for the sake of triggering people, which just comes off as more sad and pitiful than offensive or revolutionary. 2 out of 10 for having content, but it's that low because it's wank content.
Let me break it down for every single doubter. You're afraid of what I'm doing, you're a coward. All your favorite rappers doing downers.
In the words of Dyatlov from the HBO show Chernobyl, Tom MacDonald's production choice is not great, not terrible. Much like his voice, there is not a lot that stands out about his production, except for maybe that time where he went over a country beat on the song Pretend.
Let's light another cigarette and finish off the Jack Daniels. Skinny dip and leave our inhibitions with our sandals.
Lil Nas X who? But everything else on his Dream People and the Whiskey Wars album was either just fine or really budget sounding and cheap. With the most typical 2010 trap beats imaginable on songs like Worried About It or TFAB, and then there's just that really weird, messy instrumental on Murderer. That one's it's just bad. I'd say my favorite beat that he's used so far is yet again the one for Everybody Hates Me. That's legit one of the only Tom MacDonald songs that I can actually enjoy, despite his overwhelming smugness.
Straight people hate me for having the balls to go say what they think, and that makes them afraid. Dumb people hate me for making the music containing the truth.
I'm almost certain he looked up Macklemore type beat to get it, but that's cool. I like a lot of Macklemore's upbeat production. There's still not a whole lot of beats he chooses that stand out. Like, I feel like he's not defined enough sound-wise to have his own true type beats on YouTube, but I can't deny the overall quality of his production is higher now, with beats like This House and Hell of It also being pretty great. So I can say that his beats are sounding better with time, as you'd expect, But his production choice is, yet again, another area that Tom is relatively undefined in. A 5 out of 10 feels fair for this segment in my opinion. Very few downright horrible beats, and if there are, they're mostly found on his 2015 project, but there was almost nothing mind-blowing or refreshing within his beat choices either, so we're just right in the middle here.
Been almost 10 years since the day that you crashed, can't forget about the little boy's life. Everybody's got a story, if you look a little closer you can see it in the wrinkles in their face.
So, did I enjoy listening to Tom No. I reckon I would have enjoyed his stuff a lot more when I was younger and like more susceptible to rappers telling me that they're the truth and they're the revolutionaries and they're saving hip hop without thinking too much about it critically and actually looking at what they're doing. But now that I'm a big 20-year-old, a lot of his music comes off as very arrogant, self-congratulatory, and to use that classic term, very fake deep. As I'm sure you can tell from everything that I've said so far, his album from 2015, Dream People and the Whiskey Wars, was the worst part of this experience for me. Just 90 whole minutes, yes, it really is that long, of someone who didn't really have a sound or persona at that point, and was making repetitive, generic songs, many of which focused on partying, drinking, and strippers. Kind of ironic when you look at what he says about rappers that do that now. The rest were just conventional breakup raps. So yeah, his Deathreats album definitely appealed to me slightly more because he's really settled into his role as the controversial white boy. It's not very much of a defining personality trait, but goddammit, it is something at least. But it's really dragged down by the contradictions I pointed out earlier, his overall egotistical attitude, and the fact he seems entirely close-minded towards other people's thoughts and stances, writing them off as haters like he's a child. Actually, I think he almost perfectly described his personality with this line.
Y'all are 35, acting like you're 17.
The main songs I would say I enjoyed from this experience are Everybody Hates Me, Hangman, Thank You No Thank You, Hell of It, and This House, if I ignore the lyrical content of most of those tracks. I'm rarely gonna come back to any of his songs though, if I ever do. So I'm just happy that I'm done with this video and won't have to listen to any more Whitey McWhiteman for a long time. 2 out of 10 for my enjoyment. So overall, Tom gets a score of 18.5 out of 50, placing him at number 16 in this series, above Lil Uzi, who will move up past Tom when I re-rank him anyway, and below Blueface. Ow. Oh, and by the way, Blueface has been re-ranked since the last episode. I actually moved him down because after sitting on it, I didn't agree with the scores I gave him in that video, so the list that is in the description now will have Blueface lower than he was ranked in that video. I'm happy this is done now though, and I can continue to go on ignoring Tom's music, as I have been doing before this, while he continues to rap about how much people supposedly care about him. Now all I have to do is look forward to his fans flooding my comment section saying that I don't get Tom's music, as if it isn't some of the most surface level, easy to get music out there. Can't wait for it. Well guys, that is going to be it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd appreciate you leaving a like. I'm probably going to need it. Tom has some pretty dedicated fans. And subscribing if you want to see more content similar to this. This is my first video back after a small break that I took where I just didn't focus on YouTube at all. I deleted all my social media and all that kind of stuff, and just completely disconnected for YouTube from around a week or two. I felt like that was really helpful. I feel great about making this video, and hopefully that continues. Thank you for watching this video guys. Big thank you to my channel members. If you want to join, there should be a big join button next to the subscribe button below. It's $5 a month and you get to see every single video early and stuff like that. And that is all I have to say for today guys. This is CDTV Productions signing out.